Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Jumping in midstream here, we have a Force of Will stopping Brian's first turn play. However, Queer and Ranger, newly reprinted in Modern Horizons 2, has resolved. And it looks like that is going to do it for his turn. Oh no, Nettle Sentinel as well. There we go. Looked like he had passed the turn. These names are not correct. Getting updated. Izzet Delver and Sean is going to be on Elves. Izzet Delver picking up a lot of tools. So this build is from prior to Modern Horizons 2. As I'm recording this, it is just after the release of Modern Horizons 2. So Blue-Red Delver is going to have a whole bunch of new options. Now we have Brainstorm, ensuring that this Delver flips. However, it's not a guarantee if this Heritage Druid resolves, so it gets Force of Willed, and I gotta think that is likely the correct line here, as Heritage Druid would have just created a massive amount of mana for Sean. Those three elves would have been able to tap for green, and it only gets worse from there, as if you play three more elves, you can tap all three of those for green, effectively playing out your entire hand. Never mind the fact that that Nettle Sentinel is going to be untapping each one of those times, generating incrementally more and more mana. Of course, if you can get three Nettle Sentinels out along with Heritage Druid, you could literally play like infinite elves and generate mana along the way. And here we go, Natural Order sacrificing the Nettle Sentinel, the one that had just entered the battlefield. And it's going to be Craterhoof, which is not lethal. Swinging for... Or is it exactly lethal? Was he at 15? So it's 4, 4, and 8. 16. Okay, so it is actually lethal. Doesn't take much. It really doesn't. I mean, Craterhoof is a hell of a magic card. Especially if your opponent's taking a little bit of damage. You know, if they have 4 creatures out, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to survive that, even with some removal. It's a lot to ask. And yeah, there are 3 creatures is enough. Plus 14 damage out of nowhere. Haste, Trample. Izzet Delver can be pretty good at blocking with elemental tokens, but not so much once you give things huge bonuses and Trample. Ben will have the play. Basic Island into Ponder. Not entirely ideal. Delver would prefer to have a whole bunch of options with its mana base, potentially firing off multiple red spells in the same turn, trying to keep elves from getting too out of hand. Forked Bolt is a card that sometimes is main deck, which can do some heavy lifting. You also have some sweepers out of the board that can potentially do 1 damage to all your opponent's creatures, which can be quite a lot of value, both in terms of card advantage and just maintaining the situation. It's just so brutal when Gaia's Cradle is tapping for... I mean, 3 mana is ridiculous for a land, but Gaia's Cradle can just do insane things. Now, Bonecrusher Giant has stomped out this Nettle Sentinel. He can arrive later when Ben is ready to have a clock. For now, he's got to try and contain the situation. And it's Wirewood Symbiote plus the Allosaurus Shepherd. And that is a lot to deal with. Allosaurus Shepherd making everything uncounterable. Ben tapped out momentarily, meaning that he cannot respond to anything. And from here on out, his first removal is going to need to target the Wirewood Symbiote, as anything else can just get picked up in response. Bonecrusher Giant represents some damage, but I mean, Elves is going to be totally fine waiting. I mean, if it was 5 turns, they're not really worried about it. And to be honest, you're not going to push through damage with that anyways. very effectively. You're not going to push through lethal, let's say, as Wirewood Symbiote can easily allow for block and then pick up. Now, Heritage Druid has gotten into the mix, really showcasing some of the power. Elvish Visionary. This is getting out of hand, feeling like a vintage deck. Elvish Visionary drawing a card. Now we'll see if Sean makes the play of picking it up on Ben's turn. That is something that I would strongly consider if Ben taps off of red mana. Oh, he taps off of red mana for the worst possible reason. We got 1 damage coming in toward everything. What will Sean save? Just Allosaurus Shepherd, and that is a 4-for-1. Brainstorm. And now Bone Crusher Giant feels like a much more appropriate win condition. Now that all of that, I was going to say trash. That's a little harsh. I'm sure from Bone Crusher's Giant perspective, that was trash. On the other side of the board, he is just stomping around. We've got Monastery Swiftspear fearlessly turning sideways as well, and this is just not looking good for Sean. There's a slight chance this is actually game number 3, so we'll see what the players do at the conclusion of this game. We did join in the middle of the action in game 1. So I think, but without knowing for sure, just preparing you in case I do want to see as much of the action as possible here. Sprite Dragon, and now Crop Rotation. In response, while it's still uncounterable, so Allosaurus Shepherd has been KO'd. Another Dryad Arbor, but that is not going to be useful. Natural Order. Oh, Progenitus. But he's still... Is he still dead? Yeah. It's real close. Oh, this is interesting. Good on you, Sean, for making it interesting. I don't know how he's going to be able to survive multiple attacks. Expressive Iteration starting things out. Progenitus rarely gets there in my experience. I guess I've just beaten the card a lot. Ponder. Continuing with all of this extra prowess triggers and Sprite Dragon triggers. Everything turning sideways for lethal. Blocking the 2 biggest would push through. What is that? Is that going to be 4, 5, 6? It looks like Xaxes as Ben takes that one, despite Sean making it interesting with that natural order for Progenitus. And it looks like we do have a 3rd game in stock. Nice, we do have a 3rd game. I'm excited. This is what I sound like when I'm excited watching Magic. Green Sun Zenith, finding a Dryad Arbor exactly where you want to be. Elves win percentage. I mean, I feel like we should keep track of it on channel here. It seems like it's so much higher when you go into turn 2 with 3 mana, either from Green Sun Zenith or from Elvish Mystic, Finhorn Elf, Llanowar Elf, something along those lines. It was, I don't know, maybe it was more obvious with Deathrite Shaman. But also just makes great use of all of the untap effects from Queer and Ranger and even Wirewood Symbiote. The ability to just untap your mana producers and just toss cards onto the board, generating a massive advantage early. Of course, we have seen Ben does have a sweeper in his deck, at least one. Elves is a type of deck that you could probably dedicate a decent portion of your sideboard towards and consistently crush the deck, but I mean, you can't really afford to. Plague Engineer is very good against the deck, though perhaps not as good as you might think at first glance. I mean, Nettle Sentinel survives. Birchlore Ranger can survive if you morph it. You also have Wirewood Symbiote and Dryad Arbor, so it's not like the game's just over on the spot. With a Plague Engineer, you can actually fight through it to some degree just by natural order for, something like Progenitus. That would actually work. And we've got a Force of Will stopping Glimpse of Nature, which is one of the stronger targets. That can generate a massive amount of card advantage. So Glimpse has been stopped. Sean thinking through what he wants to do. He's going to swing for 2. And now playing an Allosaurus Shepherd, so interesting. Had the... Oh, and Heritage Druid. Wow, very, very interesting. Wirewood Symbiote. Very interesting. Let me know how you would have sequenced that. My instinct is that you want to actually play the Allosaurus Shepherd first. Play Allosaurus Shepherd, Glimpse, then play the Heritage Druid. Now you have 3. You can tap, you can play your Wirewood Symbiote. You're going to get at least 2 cards out of that. And then if you play more Elves, I mean, that's interesting. I would say Elves is one of the more difficult decks to play optimally, but it's a deck that you can definitely just play. We used to lend it out here in the store. Actually had it built at one point. And cradles were expensive at the time, but they are significantly higher now. But yeah, I've lent out Elves many, many times prior to disassembling it, and people had fun with it. They didn't play it optimally, but they had fun. They would get wins, even playing subpar lines. I mean, if you turn 3 natural order, you're gonna get there if it resolves, even if you don't do it necessarily as accurate as possible. So, Wirewood Symbiote. Oh no, what am I seeing here? Wirewood Symbiote was not targeted with the Bone Crusher Giant. Instead, we have the elf it targeted getting picked up, and then Sean comes right back immediately with a natural order for Progenitus, for Craterhoof, of course, and closing that one out. Ben shows he was somewhat prepared for the matchup. Grafdigger's Cage, a underappreciated card versus Elves, stopping just really natural order. Green Sun Zenith, Dryad Arbor, so many interactions that are just trumped by the 1-mana artifact. But Sean just quickly winning that game while the shields were down. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.